Alright, time to show you guys the new project. Wave Venture 1100. It was not this clean when I got it, but it's also been cleaner because I pulled it home down dirt roads, and yeah, now it's all dirty. So pretty excited for this. I had a, well, I still have, like a Wave Runner LX 650, which is still a pretty fun machine, but those early skis don't cut through the water very good. So, and as you can imagine, I got this for a deal. I paid $100 for this ski. Yep, it had moss growing on it when I got it. And there's a little surprise inside that we'll show you right now. Alright, there we go. Yep, she's blown up. Number one cylinder, gone. Not good. When I picked it up, the wrist pin to that cylinder was actually in the exhaust over here. So, yeah. So I'm hopeful that the stuff in the bottom is fine, maybe. Maybe. I hope. But, yeah, we'll see. I'm going to get this pulled apart. And we'll have to see what's going on. Probably got to pull it out and clean the carbs anyways. So, going to be kind of interesting getting this engine out of here. I'm going to figure it out. Okay, so good news on the 1100 ski. The carbs are not frozen up, the throttle or the choke. So that's good. I might not have to fully rebuild these. I probably want to, given that whole situation, but we'll get a little farther in here, see what's going on. Alright, so I was trying to get the carbs off, but that is absolutely terrible. And I think it'll be easier with the engine out, obviously. So now I'm trying to get the exhaust off. Bottom bolts came out no problem. These top ones though, where they have this little indent, that was probably full of water all the time, and now the bolts are rusted in. So, sprayed some lube on that, also sprayed some lube in the cylinders just to kind of help free things up, hopefully. And hopefully tomorrow those come out good. Alright, a couple days later, and I want to say I've made some progress, but in my heart I know that's not the right word for it. I got the head off. I ended up just taking the elbow off the front and pulling it off. This is the bottom of that first cylinder. Missing a big chunk of cylinder, so that's no good. That's not great, but if you've ever worked on these 1100s, you know that this isn't the end of the story. That's the connecting rod sticking out of the block. Impressive, actually. Because it, yeah. So that's not good either. Also, connecting rod junk, which kind of figured. So the correct course of action here would be to basically just buy a short block. Or is that a long block when the rotating assembly is in it? Whatever. I can find them, they're like $1,200 bucks. $1,200–1,300 bucks with a core. That's not how we really do things on this channel though, so what I think I'm going to do, first off, I can order a connecting rod kit. And we'll give it another shot at fixing a crank. I think the one in the phaser is going to be fine. I got issues with the carbs on that, so I've never got it running, but I think I'm going to give that a shot. And if that's the case, then I will try to find just the top half of the case, although I should get this thing completely out of here so I can see if the bottom is damaged at all. If it's just the top half of the case, the crankcase, then I'll just try and find the top half and try and fix the connecting rod. And then I still got to find a cylinder. So I think next I'm going to pull this out, pull the rest of the engine out. And yeah, we'll do a little more inspection and disassembly, see what we can figure out. Alright guys, so we got the engine out, and I've got it on the bench over here at the shop. And just looking at it, it's not terrible. I mean, this piston looks pretty good. That one's got kind of a weird burn pattern on it. But obviously this front cylinder is a little worse for wear, you know. And so I think our first thing is going to be to try and get this fixed, which I have a connecting rod kit. I mean, it's worth a shot, right? And I've done it before on a phaser, so we're going to try and see if I can save this, because a reman engine is like 1,200 bucks. Then we've got the cylinder head, or I guess the cylinders. This isn't really the head. Obviously, again, number 1 cylinder is not good. Looks like the piston's cracked right here, and it just locked it up. And it also broke the bottom of the cylinder. But what I've noticed is that that's a sleeve. And after a little bit of research, these are just rusty because I washed this with water, and I shouldn't have, but it'll clean up. These are sleeves, and these are replaceable. So again, used cylinder, you know, 200, 250 bucks on eBay. But I'm wondering, I know the sleeves are cheaper than that. I'm wondering if I can do that. I think I'd still have to get it honed and machined, but I'm gonna try and get prices on that, and we'll see what happens. But I'd like to try and do like the at-home sleeve repair. That's kind of what we're about here. You know, there's no reason I should be fixing connecting rods either, but it is what it is. Also got the carbs off. I've been checking these out, and they don't look too bad. Which one? This one had like some acorns and stuff in it, so we might need to clean that one out a little bit, but pretty clean. It still has like a bunch of grease on it. I don't know if they do that from the factory or if somebody was in this before. Being that it's a 96 or 97, I can't remember now. Somebody's probably been in this before. Get that little piece came out of the exhaust here. So that's the cage for the needle bearing in the connecting rod. It shouldn't be there, obviously. Another interesting thing is this bolt should not be bent. So it's just kind of funny, when this connecting rod came out of here, it hit the starter so hard it actually put a divot in it. And it twisted this whole end. So probably going to want to get that straightened out too. But first things first, I got to get probably this whole front cover off, the e-box and everything, get that off. Probably want to pull the pistons so I don't damage them anymore. And then probably split the case and see what I can get into. Okay, so the engine is apart now. It doesn't look super bad except for right here, right? So the crank is, obviously this connecting rod is not very good. All the bearings seem pretty good except for this one. He's got about 45 degrees of motion and then he's stuck. So I might have to tear into this a little bit farther than I wanted to, but at least it's not, you know, way over here. I mean, I'm going to have this apart. So what's one more press and I get that off? That would actually be a pretty easy press to do. So I might have to do that and order a bearing. I would have thought it would have just been like a rust ridge, but I can't get it to go. So, and the one right across the journal is just fine. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go a little bit farther on the crank than I wanted to, but it should be all right. Now the lower part of the crankcase is fine. It's all good. Not really anything to be concerned about there. But the upper part, obviously, that's got a little bit of machining done in it that these don't have. And that was self-machining. right there. But here's my thing. There's a gasket. Nothing's in there. Like, that's just kind of an empty void in the block. So I'm kind of wondering if I can figure out what material this is and weld this shut. I mean, if we're gonna do this on the cheap, let's do it on the cheap, you know? So we might look into that, unless I can find one of these top halves for $100 or something. We'll see. You gotta factor in your labor with this.